Hi and welcome to the Business Belters podcast. I'm sitting here with Mark, and today we're going to be talking about a really interesting topic, influencer marketing. So there's lots of different ways to market. You market yourself online, you can market yourself with print media offline, you can do things called guerrilla marketing, but one of the ones that we kind of noticed that there's been a massive rise in influence from has been exactly that, influencer marketing. People that have kind of worked out that by building audiences, they can then monetize and sell that kind of attention back to businesses. Do you want to start us off with this one, Mark?
Absolutely, it's a great topic again, John, and something that we are seeing massive growth on. You know, everybody kind of talking about influencers, and some people know how to do it right, and I definitely do think in a business to consumer world, a B2C world, it works brilliantly, but everybody wants to know how to do it in a business to business world as well, and how you could utilise influencers. So I'd be quite, happy to kind of talk about some of my experiences with it. We've done some influencer marketing campaigns as well, and obviously kind of pros and cons and what we can kind of learn, and you can share what you've kind of seen in influencer marketing as well. But yeah, ultimately, what is influencer marketing? If you don't know what influencer marketing is, it's basically the best way to kind of see it. It's like a paid for a marketing channel. So what you're doing is you are using someone of influence that has a large following on social media or YouTube or video, and you're utilising their strength in that network to share your message. And if they share your message and they say, use this product, use this service, you will then find that people in their network are going to use that product and service as well. And if you do this in a large scale with multiple different influencers, it can then obviously have a massive impact in your marketing. So a lot of people don't see it like that. So we do a lot of like paid advertising and like Google advertising. And the way that we kind of talk to our clients is actually saying, if you've got a paid budget, why not think about using influencers instead, and actually utilising them, because you essentially need to pay influencers just like you would need to pay for advertising, because it is in a way advertising, because they are advertising your product. They are doing it for a need, and from that as well. A good example I had with a client, we'd never really done it before, and we started getting into influencer marketing. It was an e-commerce client, and we basically went through Instagram, trying to find people that were in the client's market, and we found someone that it was very kind of sustainable clothing, against kind of fast fashion sort of stuff, and we found somebody that was sort of perfect for it. So we didn't actually pay for them, but what we did is we got the client to send some kind of clothes over, and so like, here you go, as a kind of bit of a free wardrobe. And what she did is then she put her kind of clothes on, and put an Instagram photo up, and we obviously track sales and track visitors numbers and all that sort of stuff like in real time, and we could just see this person posted, and it was like, nice wee kind of trajectory, like straight line, and then all of a sudden, boom, smashed through the window.
What's that, visits, or is it
visits,
like sales or sales?
Visits and sales,
yeah.
both, and it was just through the roof. And it was like, wow, influencer marketing works.
That's amazing.
It was just, and I was like, let's start trying to learn a little bit more about this and start utilising it in the agency a little bit more as well.
It's funny that you mentioned it as retail. That's kind of my background's in retail, like building the solutions. And I remember like exactly that scenario. It was one of the clients sell like liqueurs and alcohol, and it was one of the royal family, like a kind of minor member of the royal family, and they must have posted on their Twitter or something about, Bramall's like this most amazing liqueur, and I think they sold like 6,000 gallons or something. It was like ridiculous amounts. Like, it's so unusual for it to just completely sell out. And I'm thinking, oh wow. But then that was my first thought, was you should bottle that. Like, you should actually work out like, how did that happen, and then how can you engineer that outcome. You probably don't know this, but like a few years ago I tried to buy a nightclub, and one of the things I was trying to do was, how could we get like a guest DJ, somebody like a Pete Tong or it would obviously cost a lot of money, but the influence of them doing a set there to draw people in the sense of that sets a kind of tone and a calibre of, you know, like, think about yourself. If you follow a celebrity and they shop there or they buy their food there, people that follow that, it's almost like they get a little bit of that lifestyle by, oh, I'm drinking the same thing as Mark Conley, that really famous marketeer guy, or, you know, and people follow along with that. I think that's probably why it works psychologically, is people are wanting to maybe just share a little bit of the glamour from that person's life. Yeah,
and I definitely think if we talk about generations and generational sort of marketing, I feel that there's this kind of generation now where on Instagram a lot of people are wanting to be or wanting to look like certain people, you know, so that's where a lot of it kind of comes from. So they see this, oh wow, this looks great, they look great in that clothing, or they look great with that makeup, or they look great, you know, with a watch on, and they want to be like that person. And it probably does stem a little bit from, you know, celebrities and things like that as well. You know, within marketing, we've always used celebrities in marketing. You've had like David Beckham, for instance. How many times was he, and he still is, in marketing campaigns? And that's essentially probably where it's stemmed from, you know, like these popular people. But what people have now done is they've become an influencer, and they've become the popular person, you know, out of just, you know, basically doing something on social media, and they're utilising their network. And it's a clever way to do it. It's like a clever way for them to make a little bit of money. And you see this now, it's, you know, it basically then, you know, clicks into like sort of affiliate marketing. So affiliate marketing is where if you influence or use a product, then you can actually make money off the product. So you might have, say, a software product or something, and you talk about the software product and you say, right, use this one, but use this code, and like you'll get a discount. But they're getting, you know, residual income as well, residual income from this. So it's their job, you know. And that's funny. Like I get it. So you see it massively in YouTube, but I get it from the kids. It's like, what do you want to be when you grow up? A YouTuber.
That's what my son wants to be as well.
Because they see it as like it's a business. Because ultimately, if I build a following and I talk about things that I really love kind of talking about and showing things that I really talk about, I'm going to make money. So that's an easy job. That's something I'm passionate about, you know. And like I've seen these where I'm not sure if your son's like ever done this, but it's the people that open up stuff on YouTube.
Don't get me started on this. The like hobbycraft kids or whatever. Oh my God. So we watch the I was trying to work this out, the psychology of this, like all the time. Actually, it's something I think about maybe every other week, and I'm kind of like, I don't understand how you can have thousands of toys, but you're more interested to watch people opening toys and playing with toys there. But then I suppose it's like imaginative play, so people don't do that in the same time. Like our generation, I would have probably been dropped off at your house, or you would have been dropped at my house, and we'd be playing dinosaurs, and that was just a thing at the time. Whereas because of consoles and stuff now, everything's done remotely, even more so now. But it's just kind of like went more and more towards that, where people are, I think that's their only way of kind of imaginative play. And I notice it with my kids is they want to play with me and Ali because we'll kind of do the voices and do the stuff. But when I was a kid, we would just turn like a play box upside down, and it would be like a table, and we'd put like a shawl or a cover over it, and that'd be like, right, there's my shop. And literally you could play with anything. It could be like tins of beans out of your grand's cupboard or something. But
you'd always become,
it's definitely changed. I think, like as you say, like generationally it is kind of different. But it's fascinating to me in the sense of that's probably the negative side of it, at least from my perspective. But the positive side of it is it's much easier to find your tribe, to find people that are like you. So when I think about the kind of YouTube content I watch, I don't know, I've got this kind of weird fascination with, there's a guy that runs like a laundromat out in America, and it's like he does the change collection. And it's just interesting hearing like the sort of like, oh, I'm adding vending machines in, and this is how much profit, and I bought a car wash, and you're like, I've no interest in owning a car wash or a laundromat, but I just like seeing people that are entrepreneurial like do that. And there is a lot of content where, see, if you enjoy content like that, there's lots of content creators out there making that. And then exact to that way, let's say that you're selling I don't know, something into like the market where they sell like Pokemon cards or collectibles, or you know, you create the books or something where the cards get slotted in to protect them or something. You can find influencers that have an audience already built about people that are really passionate about that, and if they talk about your product, bang, all of a sudden it's like it's the go-to product. And I think a lot of companies, although we know it works, a lot of companies have not yet coined in on that, and the fact that you might get way more leverage from an influencer than you would from almost any other form of marketing. Like, you know, I look at the kind of TikTok example where, let's say we're looking for attention on a website and we're thinking, right, we'll do Google ads or we'll do Facebook ads. But then if you look at something like TikTok and they do these challenges and stuff like that, because of that, it's like you might actually pick up lots of influencers just because they want to make content. So it's like you're almost coining in on that influencer for free thing. Because even to the point where I was like, well, what does that look like for Hybrid Anchor? I have no idea what we would do for a challenge. But with some clients, you're thinking, your business is ideal for this. Like, you're literally tailor-made for this type of marketing. Why don't you do stuff like that?
And I think what I hate about some influencers, and it comes from, you had a great point there, was it's all about kind of content creation. And you know, that's what people are following. That's why they've grown a following, because they're doing something right, opening up presents, you know, wearing clothes in a certain way, providing content in a certain way. That's why they've got the following. But I then start to hate it when they start selling to you, and it becomes really noticeable, where it's like, right, you're now just trying to...
It's like almost like monetizing the channel too much.
And I actually hate that. And podcasting became one of the big ways to influencer marketing now as well, and obviously it's a way that a lot of people make money off podcasts as well, because they're trying to get more downloads and more people doing it. But if you listen to a lot of podcasts, there'll be ones that they'll be, you know, sharing their links and sharing things through it, because essentially we could become, you know, massive influencers of, you know, about the business network, you know, by doing this podcast. And that's what essentially other people are doing. They're using a channel to kind of build on that. But I think they do need to watch the selly part to it as well. When you kind of know, and you see this as well. It's like on Instagram, you've got like the paid promotion. So they actually are saying this is actually a paid promotion for someone, which gets me just switching off straight away. You know, the whole reason I kind of buy into sort of influencer marketing is like, well, I like that person, and I respect that person, and they're doing that because they like it. So I want to be and do it because I respect and trust them. I want to do it because I respect and trust them, not because they're paid
to talk about it. See, the funny thing is, I think there's different schools of thought. So you've got one school of thought which is, right, I'm going to run ads and I'm going to do affiliate and I'm going to do promotions, and I'm, you know, it's like the I don't even know if the company's still in business, so it's probably safe to use that analogy, but in the Santa Claus movie, like basically the one with Dudley Moore is the elf guy, if you remember.
I think it's called the Santa Claus.
Santa Claus, right? So he has that and eats the cookie and he goes, Bloomingdale's, and it's like films from that time are totally like that, like, you know, the Coca-Cola's like faced on the thing, and you're like, you know, exactly, you're like, that whole scene just exists to promote that product. It's like, so you've got that school of thought, then you've got like influencers that are thinking, right, I will talk about things if I'm passionate about it. So let's say that try to think of one we use. So let's say like we use Float app, for example, right? So both of us like that app. Now if they said, look, we want to sponsor that, well then it's kind of different, because you're thinking, right, well, we're actually promoting a product that we use and we advocate for. So I kind of have less issue with those ones, because you're thinking, right, I get it, and I think if you're going to do it, that's probably the way to do it. But then you go the other way, where it's like we kind of throw in examples all the time, and we're just talking about, like, you know, we're shooting the shit about things we use and that thing. And I'm fine with that, because people know that, like, we're not being paid by those people. That's not what it is. We make our revenue through our companies, like respectively marketing, you know, digital design development. That's what we do. That's how we make our money. So it's like, because we're making our money there, we don't need to bring it into the podcast. But I think there's just an assumption, and it's wrong, because it's like well, that's why you do podcasts. You're like, well, actually, I just like creating content and talking about the industry. I'm genuinely interested in the stuff we talk about. But there's actually like a third categorization in the influencer kind of marketing. I don't know if you've seen this, where it'll actually be about like the backdrop. So they'll do it like product placement, but it'll be like in the shelf. And it's like, even I noticed that I do this as well. So like, I'm completely obsessed by Hannibal Lecter, like the character, right? And they had this TV series, I think it was NBC or something like that. And he has this thing where he has an office, right? So my brain is thinking, someone designed that set. I don't know if you follow Adam Savage. He does a YouTube channel called Tested.
No.
So he talks about like movie props and how they kind of build this up, right? So when I'm watching Hannibal and stuff, I'm thinking, right, pause the frame. Someone has selected the brandy glasses, the desk, all the stuff, right? So they've looked at, who's this character, this sophisticated, highly intelligent guy, and where have they then sourced these products? And that's interesting to me. There's almost like a whole counterculture of where did this stuff come from and how they add that. But what I'm interested in is when it pans and there's like the bookcases, and I'm like, every book that's on that shelf will be about that character. And I've actually went and bought loads of the books from the backgrounds of YouTubers, TV characters that are like around that space, because I'm thinking, well, why wouldn't you want to do it? And I don't know if you do that as well, where, you know, I'll listen to, say, Joe Rogan on a podcast, they'll bring someone on like Graham Hancock or something, or whatever it is, and I'm thinking, the guy's fascinating, he's a brilliant guest, it's just really interesting, and he happens to have wrote 7 books, so I'll go and buy all 7 books and I'll read them, and then it's like, I wouldn't have read them if I hadn't watched the podcast, but it's like, he's not taking a cut of that guy's books, whereas I think that the former ones we were talking about, it's kind of like, well, wait a minute, I've got a channel here and I can promote you, so what am I getting? If I promote your book, I want a slice, whereas I know for a fact that Joe Rogan's not taking a slice of that guy's action. He's just looking at it and saying, look, you've wrote a cool book, I want you to write more cool books, let's get you on and talk about your cool book on the kind of podcast and talk about the ideas of it freely.
Did you ever see the Fire Festival on Netflix?
Don't think so, no.
Oh, so that influencer marketing gone mad. So basically the story is that this guy wanted to start a festival, but it was this kind of luxury festival. And he was going to try and do it in like Pablo Escobar's island.
Right, okay,
like Pablo Escobar's island. But he just totally duped people. He took all their sort of money and he was like fraudulent. But he basically used influencer marketing. So I think he got like 25 people, and what they did was like an orange square.
Right.
And it was like Kim Kardashian and all that. I think it was Kim Kardashian. It was one of the Kardashians, I think. And all these like models and all that sort of stuff took this kind of shot of this orange thing. And
so what was the orange square, like a poster or what?
Just an orange square.
So it was just like on the tile
on Instagram.
So just that orange background image,
people
basically.
Going like,
right.
What's
what
this?
Is that?
Why is this? And everybody kind of talking about it. Then they started to release bits where they went to like they didn't manage to get Pablo Escobar's island. They managed to get somewhere else. And they've got like the models, they're on the boats and all that, come along to this kind of luxurious festival, book your tickets. But it was just operationally wise, just absolutely shocking. They basically were getting like these, it was all kind of kitted out that it was totally glamorous. You would get in your tent, there was like, you know, lovely beds, you'd have like everything
like glamping rather than like, you know.
Yeah, I think they got the beds off, it was like, was it Haiti? It was like some sort of place that got a hurricane or something like that. It might have been Haiti or New Orleans or something. It was like all the tents that they basically got the people that were dehoused, and they were using these things. They were not kind of fit for purpose. So these people all turned up at this island, and it just wasn't even a festival. They were told that we're going to get these gourmet meals. You wanted to see it. So the influencer marketing turned bad because everybody just ripped the Fire Festival. It was like a piece with a bit of cheese on it. It was like, is this a gourmet meal? Is this thingy? But it ended up turning up. I think the guy's in prison now or something like that. The guy who was trying to organise it. But it was this guy, and then it was also I think he was a DJ, or he was into music. I can't remember his name, but he was also part of it. And you've just seen him just totally fall away. But yeah, if you're one of kind of interested in influencer marketing kind of gone wrong, definitely go to Netflix and check that one out. It's
I don't know, to look at that.
It's good. It's good. There's bits in it that are just like, oh, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy, because they're running about doing stuff for this guy, and the guy's not even there. And just taking all the money and ran sort of thing as well.
So what about kind of tools? Is there anywhere like, so say as a business, right? So I'm interested in promoting my agency or something. So where do I go to find influencers that would be good for me?
I think that's the big thing. So you know, to do influencer marketing right, you need to start off with influencer outreach. So you need to find your influencers. So don't just go, right, we've got a campaign, let's find influencers, because it does take a bit of time. It's the same way of you have to build a relationship with them. You have to have, if they're going to do it right and not just do it for the money, they're going to want to actually believe in the product, because then they're going to actually talk about it a little bit better and use it a little bit more and all that sort of stuff. So it's more about, building a relationship. Now, to sort of find them, the biggest channels and most popular channels are Instagram and YouTube for influencer marketing. So obviously Instagram is very much hashtag kind of driven. So finding relevant hashtags, searching these relevant hashtags, seeing people that are kind of talking about it. And then what I do is I sort of just start to work out a kind of whole list of them with their tags, start following them, seeing some of the stuff to do, and then I basically outreach to them. Now it depends on what the client does. So what I do is I work with the client and say, let's come up with a sort of influencer pack. It could also be the other way around, where you do it as a bit of a kind of account management role, where you actually say, you contact them and say, John, I see you're an influencer, would you be willing to do this? Like, how much would you require? Because some, if it's the Kardashians, they're going to be wanting millions and millions of pounds. If it's not, and it's more of a micro influencer level, I kind of tell people to work out like a little bit of a package and say, like, this is what we do. So if you do this and create this many posts, you get XYZ. If you do this many posts, you get XYZ. If you do like a Instagram story, you get XYZ. So you kind of set the pricing and set what you're going to do, and find influencers around about it. There is lots of tools out there. One that you could do is like Influencer. So again, you just put in like content about that. BuzzSumo is another one. So BuzzSumo is really good for content marketing. It's also good to find influencers. So there's various tools you can go out, and that helps you then start to build the list of all the people. But again, manually doing it just kind of through hashtags and things like that as well. And also, don't forget, even with influencers, don't forget about advocates. And advocates, I would say, is a little bit different from influencer marketing. So influencer marketing, I would probably say, is a little bit more, money kind of driven, whereas advocates is more about driving people that are really believe in your brand. And
so was that like the kind of like evangelists, like people are kind of saying, right, look, I use this, these are great tools, and
I use
almost like I
use Apple products,
ambassador sort of thing.
As ambassador, I use Apple products. I would talk about Apple products all day, but I'm not going to look for anything off Apple back from it. And you can find advocates again in people that have used the products, or people that your partners or kind of suppliers are as well. So people that believe in your need. So if you're a design agency that's thinking differently, you get somebody that's like, I want to build, I believe in that and I want to see that a success. That's an advocate. So utilize advocates as well, and try and find advocates of your brand and build relationships with people. So that's a good way of doing it without actually having to spend the money on influencer marketing.
It's pretty good as well. I like that. What's the what would be your business built then for somebody that wants to use influencers? So if they're thinking, sounds interesting, we've not really went down that path, like where would they start? What's the kind of best way of getting your bang for buck in influencer marketing?
The best way to start is ultimately you need to find the influencers, but I would say that you have to have a goal. First of all, you have to have a goal. What's your goal? Are you trying to increase sales? Are you trying to increase awareness a little bit? And what's your offering going to be? So you need to understand first and foremost what your marketing offering is, and then start to kind of go out and find influencers. It's the same way it's going to kind of find your target audience. You're going to have to find people that match your brand and match what your beliefs are in. But understanding your needs first will help you then start to find these influencers, and you'll find it easier when you do that as well. But yeah, utilize hashtags, utilize different tools, and speak to people as well. Don't be scared to actually pick up the phone or direct message them and say to them, listen, we're thinking about influencer marketing. I see that you've done it with a couple other products. Let's kind of talk. What about you? What have you seen with influencer marketing?
Yeah, I think it's a great piece of advice, that actually just reaching out. I remember that when I was trying to do this for myself, I thought I'd quite like to get Eddie Hall, you know, the guy that like ripped off half a ton off the ground. So prior to when he'd done that, I was actually kind of reaching out and thought, oh, he'd be a great influencer kind of thing. And when I reached out to him, I was quite surprised straight away. They were like, yeah, look, we could definitely do something. Why don't we talk about it? And the funny thing is, it would have probably been a lot less money, because at that point he hadn't actually ripped half a ton off the ground, became the world's strongest man.
Yeah.
So I think if you can get into something earlier like that, you can then say like, right,
Yeah.
I was with that person prior to it. It's kind of like,
Yeah.
I don't know if you've read Phil Knight, the Nike story.
Yeah.
Shoe Dog, I think it's called.
Shoe
Something.
Dog. Yeah.
So he talks about like the kind of thing getting into it early with these kind of big influencers. And I mean, they built the Nike brand primarily about those exact people. Like, who is in your market that's gathering the attention?
Yeah, and it's a good point, because this is where you see like micro influencers. So influencers are a little bit smaller, but they've still got a really good audience, and they're quite willing to work hard, because they're at that stage in their life and there's a journey. They're then going to be massive at some point, and you've got
when
a
it
digital
blows up, you can always go back.
and you've got a digital footprint. So when they go like that, all right, what else were they interested in? Oh, they were interested in this guy John and Mark get Business Builders. Oh, right, I'm actually going to check this out as well, even when because it's there. So yeah, definitely, don't just look for the big guys. Look for the people. Well, look for the people that match.
It's like almost like who would you take a future bet on? So who do you think is going to be? I mean, you might actually be more cost effective to go for like 5 rising stars than one person that's made it, and kind of look at it in the sense of a little bit like an investment. Like, one of these guys, or maybe multiple of them, are likely to break through.
Yeah. And
you can maybe get more bang for your buck, because they'll maybe be like, I don't know, I've never done that before.
Yeah, absolutely. Excellent.
You want to wrap us up?
Great. Yes. So thank you again, and please subscribe, share, and comment. If you've got any good examples of influencer marketing, I'd love to hear about them. Please comment on the social media, or if you want to keep it a little bit private, email us directly and give us your feedback at info@businessbelters.com. So again, thank you very much for tuning in, and it's a goodbye from me.
Goodbye for him.
Thank you.
See you guys.